We're going to teach you how to claim your inner warrior with Kate McKay. Get ready to look at yourself like you never looked at before. Meet Kate McKay. She's an international best-selling author, transformational speaker, athlete, podcaster, and multi-million-dollar business owner.
Because people don't believe in themselves, Tony. And I'm here to be the one that says, I believe in you. I believe in you. Mask, no mask. Vax, not vax. Gay, straight. It became a very divisive culture, right? We're pushing against our freedoms being robbed, right? But ultimately, the freedom is within. We have to look within.
Welcome. Thanks for joining in with us. Today, we're going to give you some pointers on finding out who you are inside and bringing that person to the forefront. Yeah, I know it sounds like bringing out your superpowers, but this approaches it from a different point of view. We're going to give you advice and tips on those items that make a great entrepreneur and business person. And I'm talking about items like creating healthy relationships, turning failure into growth, daily habits to focus on, and more. You know, we aim to help your productivity and help you live with greater confidence. We're going to teach you how to claim your inner warrior with Kate McKay. Get ready to look at yourself like you never looked at before. And while we're at it, this is all about helping you and your friends take your vision and turn that into reality. We want to help you get very successful at growing your business to a high level. In fact, we're going to help turn you into an elite entrepreneur. Meet Kay. A little blooper there. We'll edit that out. One moment. Meet Kate McKay. Can I say that without getting in a tongue twister? Kate McKay. Okay, one more. Let's try it again. Good. Yeah, it got me laughing and in a better mood. All right. Meet Kate McKay. She's an international best-selling author, transformational speaker, athlete, podcaster, and multi-million-dollar business owner whose passion is to help others achieve a life of greater confidence, courage, and clarity of purpose. Her newest book is Claim Your Inner Warrior. I think that says enough. Let's get into it and learn. Hi, Kate. Welcome to the Tony DUrso Show.
Tony, I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm looking forward to playing with you in this time together and adding true and meaningful value to your listeners and viewers.
Kate, the pleasure is all mine, and I want to find and bring out my inner warrior also. So let's try this. Let's start from the beginning. What's your backstory? How did it all start for you?
Oh my heavens, where does it all begin? Well, because I'm older, I guess there is many stories, but I would say really oftentimes where I start with this question is to lead by saying I'm one of 9 children. And I think that says a lot. I always have used that experience as a way to explain my zaniness, my ability to advocate, and my also ability to be flexible and fluid, especially under high situational stress, just because that's by nature of a big family. I'm also an ADHD human being, and I view this as a gift. It took me a while to figure that out. After many failures and successes, it's been quite a ride. So I really appreciate that question. And I would say mostly the biggest transfer for me happened when I was 15 years old and I was sent off to a private high school. And it was all girls and it was very much a successful environment. And I thought I was all that in a bag of chips. And I come in here and I'm seeing people performing at the Boston Ballet and Symphony Hall. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I was humbled beyond humbled. And I think it was that experience of feeling like I needed to raise my game, even at age 15, shifted some big things for me. And I was fortunate enough to find theater, Tony. Theater was actually my saving grace. It was the only thing in my life I've ever gotten A's in. And to think that all I needed to do was to be present and listen and respond authentically. Well, isn't that the ticket to living a great and meaningful life, for sure?
That is quite something. Now, today, you run a business on helping people find their inner warrior, their inner strength, and so forth. How did that vision evolve?
Great question. So in 2008, I built, as a stay-at-home mom, a gold company. I bought and sold precious metals on the open market. So oftentimes I will say I was flipping grilled cheese with one hand and buying and selling gold on the other. It turned out to be a $17 million company. And this is a person that had no business experience. That would be me. And what I had, though, Tony, was the gift of being able to build relationship and for people to trust me. And that was, as I just mentioned earlier, a continuation of like my theatrical, that was just something that I had high acumen in. And that experience of building a company and managing people and stepping into leadership was very transformational. I remember a coach asking me, Kate, what is leadership? What's the difference between leadership and being a leader and being an advocate? And I was like, oh no, I was convinced that I was a leader. And she said, well, Katie, actually, you were taught how to be an advocate. To be a leader is something very different. And that was a very humbling experience for me, because I realized that being a leader meant that I needed to step up, be clear, and be strong enough and live a life of integrity enough for have other people role model that for other people, I should say. So that was a big piece and a big discovery for me, that in order for me to role model and to stand in the power, the gifts that I was given, I was going to have to choose another route. And that, it takes a lot of courage to step into that power, especially as a woman. So that was a big step for me. And I would say, Tony, one of the key operatives for me, and I think that this is why I coach, I'm a high performance coach, certified, and I coach a lot of men. And that's the reason why I wrote Claim Your Inner Warrior. It's especially for men, a personal development book for men. And I'm a gym rat. I've been in a gym. I have 5 brothers. Started working out when there was no women in the gym. And now I see women on the squat rack and I'm like, you have no idea that was just strange when I first started. So it was that always being in a situation where I didn't fit in. It's like an all men's gym. I was a woman. So I've been perpetually in my life in a position where I had to figure things out. And it wasn't always easy. And I had many, many failures, but I learned from Les Brown, one of my favorite motivational speakers, that when life knocks you down, when you get hit by that cosmic two by four, make sure you fall on your back. Because why? Because if you can look up, you can get up. And ultimately, that's been my mantra of life, that I'm always looking up, looking for the light, because I know that other people depend on me. I view my gift here in this world as an obligation, not as a convenience. It is an obligation and a personal responsibility to help others. It's not, I don't take my gifts lightly.
And I'm thinking with this that, here you are, as you just said, you're helping others, release their inner strength, their inner warrior. But I want to ask and drill down a little bit on that. Kate, why? Why do you do what you do?
Because I believe that people have greatness within them. And I also believe, and this stuff that moves me, is that everyone has a longing to be more and to be seen. And man, we're experiencing that, particularly now as we move through COVID, and particularly with men. There's a lot of men that suffered through COVID, that were in isolation. In 2017, I lost my son to suicide. So there's a whole nother why in that, Tony, a whole nother why in that. And I look at that situation to say, I birthed an angel of a child. He was something else. Okay. He was something else. He was beautiful. He was gritty. He was determined. He was kind. He was loving. He was all of those things. And yet he made a decision. So I had to make a decision at knowing that at 22 years old, my son chose to ascend on his own accord, as his friends described it. So I had to make a decision on what the meaning was going to be for me in this life after birthing and most painfully, and at the same time, most beautifully releasing my child. So that I could become who I came here to be. Not an easy task, I'm going to tell you right now. But listen, my I don't know what you would call it. I guess my call to action in life is to live powerfully with courage and enthusiasm. That's been my mantra for many, many years. And I laughed to myself when that happened. I said, "Oh God, really? I got to do grief with courage and enthusiasm? Watch me." And I did, and I still do. And I think that I'm such a positive person and such an upbeat person that everyone was watching me. Like, how's Kate going to deal with this? And I looked around and I looked within myself, and I stepped into the light, because this is the deal. We can transform through grief. Men and women, we can transform. Is there such a thing as post-traumatic stress? Absolutely. Is there something called post-traumatic transformation? You better believe it. It is possible. We become changed people, but we can be transformed and transmuted into the light through our greatest losses. I represent that truth, and I'm here to bring that light to other people, because people don't believe in themselves, Tony. And I'm here to be the one that says, I believe in you. I believe in you.
That I'm sorry to hear about the loss of your son. This past year, we've had more deaths in the family and friends than that's unimaginable. It was quite a year. So I totally understand what you're saying from a different point of view, and I
Important
appreciate.
work, Tony. It's important work, like you and I in this change agent role as podcasters and leaders of community, that I know that you're stepping up your game as well to be a bigger change agent. So I'm here holding the light for you as you're holding the light for me, allowing me to be on your show, to be light bearers for other people. So let's go, Tony. High five. We
You're
have work to
wonderful,
do.
Kate. Thank you, Kate. I do appreciate that. And we're talking about Claim Your Inner Warrior with Kate McKay, and you can find her at katemckay.com. But let me spell that. It's Kate-McKay. So that's KATE-MCKAY.com. And for some reason earlier today, I kept mispronouncing it. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, but you kind of get used to it. Kate-McKay.com. When you say it a few times, then you got it, then you remember. Check it out. She's got some great stuff there. All right, Kate, let's get into your vision path. I'm going to talk about your book, but I'm going to break this down a little bit. Now, we're entrepreneurs, we're business owners, and one of the things you talk about is, well, creating healthy relationships with ourselves and others. And I think about that and go, healthy relationship with our own self? I'm going to leave it to you to comment and kind of expound on that.
Well, really, ultimately, the path is inward. So you hear this whole, especially during COVID, where it was like this real divisive environment. Mask, no mask, vax, not vax, gay, straight. It became a very divisive culture, right? We're pushing against our freedoms being robbed, right? But ultimately, the freedom is within. We have to look within. And I was recently interviewed on NASDAQ, crazy enough, and the show filmed on Bloomberg and Fox News. And my conversation was in regards to our personal development and our professional development. And if they don't match, if we don't dig into who we are and why we do what we do, our success is only going to be so far, right? We can be super successful in our business, but if our personal development is a 2 or a 3, the law of averages is going to bring that number way down. So we can't pretend that our personal development and our understanding who we are and how we function in the world isn't excruciatingly important. It has never been more important. Leadership requires a certain level of vulnerability, transparency, and adaptability, and understanding different ways that people relate and communicate, particularly with the newer generation. They are different. The younger generation is different, and they aren't going to be and value the same things we value. Does that mean that we can dig in our heels and just say, hey, this younger generation just doesn't work hard? They don't, they're different. So how do we honor each other? It's an important word, the word honor. How do we self-honor, and how do we honor others to let others walk their path, but still hold each other in this higher level of integrity and greatness? I believe that much of my job as a coach is to dig deep, to push. I'm paid to push, Tony. My work is I'm paid to push. So I'm super positive and upbeat. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to yourself, because I will call you out in the best of ways. But if you share your dream with me and you tell me you want something, and then all of a sudden I see you kind of playing it small, I will call you out, because I'm called to do that, right? I have an athletic background. I am in the athletic mindset, business mindset. There's a similarity, right? So it's important that I'm courageous enough, and I'm able to do that because I know enough about who I am, and I understand human condition, and I understand that people are deeply wanting to be seen, and people honestly want to be called out. They don't want to talk about the weather, Tony. They don't want to talk about the weather. People want to have deeper conversations. So you put me in front of 5,000 people down at Walmart, with the CEO of an organization running a group mastermind. I'm always the same because I've done my work. I'm Kate McKay. I know how I show up in the world. I know who I am, so that people can depend on me and they can trust me to always be the same. That's important quality of leadership. People need to trust. It's the primary emotion. We need to trust in order to grow. And do we trust ourselves? And we can't trust ourselves if we don't know who we are by asking ourselves powerful questions. And that's what a coach does, asks powerful questions.
And I'm going to ask one more question on that. You may have answered it and may have gone over my head, but to create that healthy relationship with ourselves, we have to improve our trust. So I'm thinking, well, what can I do to trust myself? Do I trust myself? I never even looked at that question before. That's a great question.
Love
Trust
that.
and trust in ourselves. So perhaps you can give a
Mm.
little bit more information on that.
I would love that. So, under the high performance habits, 3 of the high performance habits, and this was a study done by Brennan Bouchard, my mentor coach. And so, what he did is he spent millions of dollars on research, science backed research on what it is that makes the highest performers highest performers. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about the head of the PTO or of an organization, doesn't matter. High performers are people who have consistent, fulfilling relationships, work. It's at a high level. So the operative word there is consistent and fulfillment. Right? It's not just about the money. It's a high achiever, high performance. Okay. And there are 3 habits that these high performers had. Number 1 is they were seeking clarity. They knew who they were. They knew what that defined who they were. And they also knew how they were going to create their interactions with other people. Seeking clarity, number 1. Number 2 is generating energy. They knew how to use their energy physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually every single day. I have very high mastery and energy because I had to, Tony, with ADHD, I had to manage this or I would have been in big doo-doo trouble. So I have a mastery and energy. That's why people oftentimes say, Kate, how can you be so confident? How can you have so much energy? I know how to master it. I've reined it in and I understand how I can use it at the highest and best. Second one, as I said, that's generating energy. Energy is the second high performance habit. The third one is necessity. That's good. So we are here to seek necessity. What is the meaning on why we're doing what we're doing? What is the meaning? What is the view and the vision that we want for ourselves? The longing I'm going to go to again. So we have clarity, energy, and necessity. Those are the 3 personal high performance habits that we need to dig into. And those are the places where I start with my clients. Just as an aside, the last 3, because there are 6, are productivity, influence, and courage. And courage means, are you speaking your truth? Are you getting your needs met? Are you living a life of integrity in your relationships? Interestingly enough, these are the 6 high performing habits that define a high performer. This is it.
I'm going to focus on those because at first glance, I think I failed on all of them, but
You
but
did
I
not.
got to focus on that a little bit more. I'm going to ponder that. And while I'm doing that, one of the things we spoke about earlier that I wanted to touch upon is we spoke about grief. We both
Mm.
had grief. And not trying to be silly, but that makes us sad. Here we are, we're working, we have grief. It makes us sad, sad to work. And another thing that makes us sad is when we have a failure, a big client cancels, a big prospect falls through, something unexpectedly happens, perhaps that we don't have control over, failure results, and that brings us sad. And what's profound about what I'm saying is in your book, in your material, you talk about you can take that sadness, failure, grief, etc., and turn it into spiritual and financial growth. I'm all ears, Kate. Please tell me more.
Well, the whole concept is really understanding that emotion is our first response, right? And what happens with most men, I'm going to categorize, but generally this is our condition of our society, is that men cut off their emotional body space. They go right to thinking, right? But our first response by nature as human beings is a somatic response. It's a body response. So when we feel fear or we feel terror, we fear sadness or happiness, it's our body. that we feel emotion. And then it goes to thought. And then we have hopefully our frontal cortex is going to create thought and take action from there. But somatic body response is the first thing. So I will, when I'm coaching a man and we're like, say, for example, we're just chatting about something and all of a sudden I hear a change in his voice. And I'll say, hey, what was that about? What was that about? And they're like, what? I'm like, it seemed like there was something that went on there. Can you tell me what that is? And then, what's that emotion? Where are you feeling that is what I'll ask. And they'll be like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, just if you knew, what would you tell me? This is one guy, my trunk. And I'm like, okay, your trunk. So is that your heart area, your stomach? I'm just like, go with it. It goes, my heart. And I go, ooh, your heart, you fed it, you felt in your heart. So I'm putting his emotion back in his body. This is a young man, mind you, very high and successful man. But if I can get him back to the feeling body, and if we can put words to feeling, we are free, Tony, because we have to name the emotion to be free of it. To think that, I think it's like some very short window that we actually feel emotion and then it comes into another emotion, right? Emotions are always going through us very rapidly in a day. But if we can be like, oh man, that makes me sad. And you can say those words and acknowledge them, you will not hold them. It's like shame. When we feel shame, when we name shame, it can no longer exist. So it's naming the emotion. And I think that that's where we've fallen down in our society, particularly with men. And I think women have been taking advantage of that. I know that's weird for me to say, but I believe that women have an obligation to support men to speak their truth in ways that honor men. They have a different languaging skills. They're different. Why do we as a society expect men to communicate like women? They're not women. Yes, they need to speak out and speak their truth, but we need to honor them. They need more time to process. They have different words around languaging. This article, and this is the book behind me, that's Claim Your Inner Warrior. The first article I wrote in that, I had a column in a newspaper, and this doctor, he's a Russian doctor, he's like, Katie, you need to write an article about men. When they lose their wife, they don't do good. Women do fine. Men, not so good. Terrible accent, but that's what he was like. I go, okay, I'll write it. So I wrote an article about how men express grief and loss. This is after Will passed away, my son. I cannot tell you how many men came up to me and said, Kate, I felt like you were talking to me. And I said, that's the foundational article of the book, Claim Your Inner Warrior. And you can get that on Amazon for any of you viewers and listeners. But that is the most important part. We must name the emotion, Tony, and then we can be free of it to make higher and more meaningful decisions. And that includes with our relationship with ourselves, relationship with our spouse, our roles in our community. We need to relate to ourselves emotionally so that we can move mountains and speak our truth and live into our greatness, honestly.
Kate, I really like that. If we name the emotion, if we name what's going on, it helps dissipate it and make it disappear so it's no longer affecting us so much. So I really like that a lot. Been great on that article. So with all that said now, can we get into some daily tips or habits or things that can help us bring out that inner warrior, our courage, our clarity, our focus, our strength, whatever? Let's kind of go into that a little bit.
I love that. Great question. So I'm a neuroscientist freak because I believe that as a coach, I have an obligation to be involved in the latest scientific research. Coaching is an outcome-based practice. It's not just hire a life coach and you're just going to shoot the breeze. I'm here to help people measure outcome in their performance, wherever that is. And so one of the habits, we can look at how we set our day. We have two places that change happens: internally in core beliefs, externally in our daily habits. And let's take advantage of this amazing thing we have that we hear about all the time. One word, dopamine. It is a magic neurotransmitter that gets dropped into our body highest in the morning. What does that mean? That means we need to take advantage of our creative, productive time in the morning, things that are hard or more difficult when our dopamine is highest. We can increase our dopamine with exercise. We can increase our dopamine with sunlight in the morning. Okay. Those are two ways we can do it. A little movement and sunlight in our eyes. This is neuroscience based. If anyone hasn't checked out Andrew Huberman, he is incredible. neuroscientist out of Stanford that has incredible videos on YouTube and Instagram. He's everywhere. So that's a really important piece, is taking advantage of the morning time. Now, for me, because I have ADHD, I need structure around my morning. I look forward to my morning ritual so excitedly. Like, you think, Katie, calm down. It's okay. No one's going to take it away from you. But I'm that ritualistic about it. And meditation and prayer is a big part of my life. When I miss it for a day or two, I'm not good, right? And so I notice it. Why am I cranky? Why am I more anxious? So creating morning systems are really, really important. Make them small, make them bite-sized, and don't beat yourself up over if you don't nail them. But at the same time, hold yourself responsible. Pick 3 and hit them out of the park. It will change your life. This is where I promise you. And a very important piece of that is journaling. I have a new journal coming out called Claim Your Inner Peace. Journaling can change your life, and I highly recommend you do that. Science has shown that it can be as effective as therapy in helping us be clear on who we are and what we do. So journal, journal, journal. The highest performers, 85% of them journal.
So many great points you've mentioned here. And the one that I've got to make sure I'm going to do, I'm going to listen to this again and make sure all these points. But getting that sun in the morning on the eyes, just getting that vitamin D, getting it from nature. I mean, it just feels like, yeah, that's very important. And us entrepreneurs on the go, we fail to do that. I'm sure. I know I do.
You're right. It's just 2 minutes too, Tony. And the thing is that it really is scientifically proven to increase your dopamine so that you can be more effective and efficient. Like, it's real true science. So even if it's just 2 minutes, get as much of it as you can on your skin, let the sun in your eyes, and actually you reset your brain by walking. So when we're on the screen all the time, we're built to have things move by us to reset our brain. Treadmills aren't going to do that for you. Walking outside resets your vision to be more creative and productive. Real science.
I like that. Now let's have a little bit of fun here. We are entrepreneurs. We want to grow our business. We got some great tips. Let's get into money. Let's get into revenue, financial tips, business strategy tips. We want to break through our limiting beliefs, even the limiting beliefs that we don't think we have, that we really have. There's a little conundrum there, because I think people have more limiting beliefs perhaps than they think. But when you don't have a mentor or someone to pull you out of that box, how would you even know? So, with that in mind, let's get into some tips and strategy tips.
Absolutely. So I would say, starting with looking at what your money story was growing up. Mine was, money doesn't grow on trees. I don't know about you, Tony, but that was mine growing up. And growing up in a really big family where we always had enough food, but it wasn't like that there was an abundance. Also, generationally, that abundance mindset. And really, I had to make a shift when I built my gold company. So all of a sudden I had abundant amount, and there was a piece of it that I didn't feel like I was worthy of that abundance. So there is a big component of the core belief being unworthy of success, love, abundance, right? So what is that story? And oftentimes that is why I will facilitate powerful conversations in regards to when we're talking about clarity. If you know who you are and you know you want to have bigger impact, if you know money is an exchange that allows you to have greater influence and impact, what are the ways that we can change the languaging around that? And being held accountable and doing those things in your day that's efficient and effective, that's money driving. So 60% of your week time should be spent on, and this is statistically another number, I'm not just throwing out statistics, 60% of your time in a week should be focused on money producing activities. 60%. That's a lot. And some people are like, oh, no, I do that. Track your day and then text me and let me know how much of your time you really truly are. And being productive, again, is efficiency and effectiveness, but it's doing the things that are the most important. A chapter in the book, Claim Your Inner Badass, that I have, my bestseller, has a book on radical prioritization and what that means. And really that requires you to be very clear on what it is you want to do, and then making it very clear to all the people around you that it's your focus. And that is, I would say, the number one challenge, Tony, for a lot of people, is that the people around them are the ones that are limiting us. We hear this expression all the time. You are what you are, the 5 people around you, right? Common expression. But I like to shift that up and use this. You are representative of the 5 people you expect to have around you, not who are around you, who you expect to have around you. If you want to play an A game, you want to make a ton of money, you want to have a lot of influence and impact, who doesn't, reach out and start surrounding yourself with A game players. There are some people around you right now, anyone who's listening, that you know is bringing you down, that aren't holding you to your highest and best, right? There is. So what kind of conversations do you have to have with that person to clarify your goals and to live into a higher level? You have to figure out what it is you want too. Like, money isn't everything, but money is good, right? Money's good. So what are the things that you have to let go of? And then what are the habits? Again, we go back to internally, the core belief of I am unworthy, and switching that, I'm worthy of abundance, internally shifting the belief. And then externally, it's creating the habits and the structure around your life to win, because you're here to win. You are here to win. And I'm here to cheer you on if you need any cheering on.
Very good point. And I like some of what you said about money, and I'm going to go into that a little bit here. Uh, we hear it, money isn't everything. There's more to it than money. However, the reality is it buys food, it helps to feed our family, it helps provide shelter. There's a level of it that's very, very important, and it's tough to live without. That said, I've seen when there's a low amount of money, if you can say it that way, or insufficient money, that confidence level really drops. And it almost becomes a little bit of a conundrum. You want to get out there as a good entrepreneur, you want to grow your business, you need the money to grow the business, and that's going to help your confidence, but the money's not there, so you kind of go in a circle. So what am I saying? I'm saying let's talk about improving our confidence, which then should in tow bring and improve that income.
That's great. And there again, another scientific, very common psychological term in the field, which is there is a direct link between your confidence and your competency. So we can't be confident if we're not growing competency in certain areas. So if your goal is to build wealth, what are the steps that you're doing every day to build your competency so that you can be more confident? Because the more confident you are, the more competent you are, and vice versa. One of my clients, when we set a growth goal, and maybe anyone who's listening, write this down. There are 2 things that you can focus on for growth goals. One of them is enrichment goals. What are the things you need to start doing today, right away, that's going to enrich your life so it has more meaning? That's really important. What is 1 to 3 things? The second one is an excellence growth goal. What do you need to start doing today to be excellent, to bring excellence in all that you do? Enrichment and excellence. This is called future casting. We have to vision the future. And guess what? That means that we have to learn every day new skills to get there. We can't use what we got, right? We'd be stagnant. We're not in growth if we're not planning for growth. For one of my clients, that was, she needs to take calculus. I'm like, okay, calculus. You go, girl. Why? Because it made her think higher on a higher scale of her strategic thinking. One of my other clients is, I need to take accounting. I'm like, right on. So what is that for you? And we're just having money conversation, but it could be about anything. This is where I feel that I can add the greatest value, is helping people realize that every day is a great day to grow. And we do better, as Brendon Burchard says, growing together. Growing together. It's way more fun.
Every day is a great day to grow. I absolutely love that. And with that, let's kind of summarize. We talked about so many points. We talked about improving our productivity, growing our purpose, growing our revenue, bringing out that inner warrior. Let's kind of put this together, perhaps maybe a good summary of this. There's so many points we've covered.
Oh, you're asking me to summarize me? I would just say, honestly, you have, any viewers and listeners, you have greatness within you. You truly do. And you know it. And it's okay to say it out loud. And what's most important is you find someone that you trust that's going to hold you accountable to your greatness. They're going to call you out. They're going to challenge you. They're going to cheer you on. They're going to pick you up and kick your butt out the door when you need to and when they need to, so that you can live into your greatness. We all need that cheerleader. And they're not, it doesn't always come. Your gifts comes, sometimes wrapped in sandpaper, right? But you have to understand that you need to lean in. Right now is your time. You need to take it as a personal responsibility. It is an obligation for you to live within your greatness. Right now, we're in a time of transition. We're in a time where a lot of people are not only revolving, they're in the hamster wheel, but they're de-evolving. They're dying, okay? There are people that are going to need support, and we need to be those rescuers. We need to be those light bearers. So be the light bearer. And when I talk about people who are in de-evolution, people who are dying, people who are struggling, do you know somebody in your life that's like that? If you do, and someone comes to mind, my call to action for you is call or text that person as soon as this interview is over and let them know you're thinking about them. A simple call, a text, a smile can change someone's life. That is the most important thing I want you to hear. And I'm deeply grateful for this time. I'm deeply grateful that you took your time to listen to this podcast. I'm deeply grateful to you, Tony, for allowing me this opportunity to be here with you and hold sacred space and be change agents into greatness. So thank you.
Great points. Thank you for a little recap there. Once again, we talked about how to claim your inner warrior with Kate McKay. And again, she's at kate-mckay.com. Kate, thank you so much for sharing with us today. You packed a punch with a lot of good stuff in a short amount of time. It was great. I'm enthused. I just want to thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony. I'm honored to be here.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with me while I featured an elite entrepreneur who took her vision to reality. We talked about how to claim your inner warrior with Kate McKay. I loved it. This was great. I soaked it all up. We talked about how to create healthy relationships with yourself and others. We talked about trust and turning failure and grief into personal, spiritual, and financial growth. She gave us daily habits and tips to help us focus on and grow our courage, our clarity. We talked about mental, physical, and other strategies to really grow our business. We went over financial tips, business strategy tips, how to live with greater confidence, and so many points. What did we discuss that resonated with you? I'd love to know. And please remember supporting the show with a nice review on Apple Podcasts. I greatly appreciate it. And before we go, please share this with a few friends to help them too. Friends helping friends is what it's all about. All right, let's use this and let's help you move on your journey to success. Thanks. Remember, just take action. Success awaits those who persevere and remain steadfast despite the odds. Sow good seeds, do good deeds, and join me on the next episode of The Tony DUrso Show.